Dearness Johnson is getting a new contract? Man, is it just me? Or does it seem like the Cleveland Browns got 35 running backs? We'll talk about it all coming up here next on the next Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by the fine folks over at Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online, where the game starts. Good morning, everybody. Into another week here on Locked On Browns. Your hosts, Lloyd at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Your Garrett Bush at GBush91. We're going to get into some things here today. But first, we appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day, whether it is traditional podcasts, platform, wherever you get your pods. Make sure you're following, subscribe to the Locked On Browns podcast, and YouTube. Damn near to almost 800 subscribers to this point. We couldn't be more thrilled with the growth. I want to thank everybody. Most recent episode almost went to 3K as far as viewership. It's amazing what a little Odell and Baker Mayfield conversation can do for an episode. Two players currently no longer Cleveland Browns, but certainly lightning rods nonetheless. We're going to get to some talks here on the running back room with Dearness Johnson signing his contract. Looks a little crowded. Where there's a fullback lane in this room, and with five, how's this all going to work out? Some thoughts here, with Deshaun Watson. Apparently the investigation as far as the league is concerned is over. So which means we could be possibly hearing words sooner or later. Who knows how all that's going to work out. But the question would be is if it turns out to be a significant amount of time, we know it would go to Jacoby Brissett, but God forbid something happened to Jacoby Brissett. What are we going to do there? And the Browns have their first mandatory minicamp next week. They'll be making stops in Berea, Canton, even over to the stadium itself. We'll get some thoughts here from Garrett and myself on that. But Garrett, first, you got Dearness handled, and good for Dearness. Going to get a chunk of change this year, about, I think it's $2.45, $2.48 million. Certainly well earned over the last couple of years. Was solid in 2020, 2021. Guy that, due to injuries, got himself a bigger piece of the pie, and, a real feeling from the Browns as far as what kind of player Dearness is. But we've gotten into this before, and it's going to be one of the biggest positional groups to monitor over the summer. They all seem to bring something to the table, G. Bush. Deep room here now for Coach Stump Mitchell in the running back room.
Yeah, it just seems we talked about this a little bit. I want to say about a couple of weeks ago when we were looking at the situation with the running backs. We were talking about what camp battles could be, kind of problematic, or to people that may be on the outside looking in, so to speak. And we mentioned a guy like Kareem Hunt, but as we listen to what Coach Kevin Stefanski has been saying lately, you take a look, he likes Kareem Hunt, loves him. And as a matter of fact, he talked about having a 1-2 punch with him and Nick Chubb. So as the roster is constituted, I don't think Kareem Hunt is going anywhere. Nick Chubb is definitely not going anywhere. And then they make this move, getting Dearness Johnson locked up and signed up for a year. So that pretty much guarantees that this guy is going to make the roster this year. So those top three look like they're cemented, right? They're going to be, and when that tells me, if I'm reading the tea leaves, one, that means if you're preparing for a suspension, get ready for all of those running backs to be getting significant carries. He's telling them, hey, listen, make sure you healthy going into this season because you're going to get some touches, man. So he wants to keep these running backs fresh. He wants to rotate those guys and think one of the better running games, go back to 2020, right? Go back to 2020 and remember how they ran the ball down the throat to the Dallas Cowboys, right? It was Nick Chubb. It was Kareem Hunt. Big Chubb ended up getting hurt. They brought Dearness Johnson in, and he almost had 100 yards. So I think that's what you're going to see more from the offense. if you're looking at what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like if Deshaun Watson is suspended for a lengthy period of time. But for me, I'm looking at it like this. That's 3 up. You got 2 other guys, Demetric Felton and Ford out of Cincinnati. I'm on record saying I love Ford, love the way he runs the ball. I love the fact that he has home run hitting ability. And I like Demetric Felton. But what this tells me this is going to have to happen, Demetric Felton is going to have a tremendous camp. I think he's the guy that they may have as the odd guy out. Take a look at what they did to upgrade the wide receiver room. You bring in David Bell. They think Anthony Schwartz is going to be a guy that could do some things for him. You already got Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones. They drafted a kid from northern Iowa who is a 6'3" receiver, could run 4.4. So they look like they're trying to find a diamond in the rough. So that means Demetric Felton is going to have to do something this year. And on top of it, they brought in Jakeem Grant. And Felton was a guy that was battling with Anthony Schwartz for punt returning and kick returning duties. So he's going to have a heck of a camp. He's going to have to be a dude that really shows up big time. But I don't think it's enough practice time in the world for him to get. I like the rookie from Cincy and the 3 vets to make this roster. And I think that's the guy that's out there now in the running back room.
This is a little bit difficult here because the first thing that comes to me when you have the room and you make the commitment here to Dearness Johnson, and look, everybody's committed to this point. Things could certainly change over the summer. Jerome Ford shows really, really well. It certainly makes for, a difficult spot for the Browns. It's a great spot to be in to say, oh, wow, we have too many quality backs. It's a great spot to be in, but, maybe a decision would have to be made. Question is there going to be a fullback on this roster? When you moved on from Andy Janovich, there's nothing that Johnny Stanton did last year that you can just say, oh, well, Johnny Stanton's the fullback, because you moved on from Andy Janovich. I don't think they've truly gotten from the fullback position, maybe essentially what they were hoping for, as far as, the way Coach Stefanski likes his offense, with the fullback in his offense. So is that something that's not necessarily going to be a part of this, which makes it easier to keep more running backs, of course. So do you bring in the 3rd tight end who's got more of a blocking resume. He does some H-back work, line in the backfield. This is stuff they did They did it with Seth DeVal. They did it with Stephen Carlson back in those days. Is that something the Browns could go that route with? If Jerome Ford looks really, really good over the summer, you're in a position where now, you basically maybe have the present of the reserve running backs in Kareem Hunt, in Dearness Johnson. But do you want them essentially blocking what maybe is the future of the reserve running back in Jerome Ford? So a lot to placate there. You look at a situation here with Dearness Johnson. Look, it is 1 year, $2.4 million. The way they've spoken on Kareem, even if there was somebody there that offered something, the problem is you don't know if any one of these guys is capable, if God forbid something happened to Nick Chubb, to being your top back. Kareem Hunt can already do that. We've already seen Kareem Hunt do that at times with the Browns and certainly with his time with the Kansas City Chiefs. So if God forbid something happened, you'd still need an RB1. Kareem Hunt is going to fill that. Not necessarily, and I'll use this scenario from last year, and this probably wouldn't work, obviously, for the Browns if they were going to look to maybe move Dearness Johnson. But you look at the Baltimore Ravens last year, in a span of, I think it was like 23 hours, they lost running back 1, running back 2 for the entire season. Now, there was a team, and obviously it never really worked out for them in totality with the running back position. They had a lot of players there, got some players to contribute at times, but it never truly worked. Would you be in a position then where all of a sudden you got somebody desperate for a running back, and you say, look, man, I got Dearness Johnson here, 100 carries last year, over 500 yards. He can receive. And, hey, can I milk you for a day 3 pick that could go as high as a 4th round pick? The Browns do have draft picks they need to bring back into the fold. You're not going to get those round 1 picks back. But obviously they love to have draft manipulation, be able to move up and down the board by having a lot of picks. So certainly something to consider there. Demetric Felton, I think this is where he's really, really in the tough spot. Like you said, his return duties have been taken away. Jakeem Grant is going to get that role. As far as if you were going to hand the ball off to any one of these running backs, you probably think at this point Demetric Felton would be the 5th. So he's not even dressing, most likely, on game day. As far as the receiving aspect, he does bring something there, but you brought a ton of guys into that wide receiver room. He is not the receiver Kareem Hunt is. So where does all that placate? So with Dearness Johnson and the contract, there's going to be one of these 5 guys who are not going to be on the opening 53, and it's a tough spot. Probably all of them deserve it, essentially. But the problem is this is the way the Browns are currently constructed. There's plenty of teams in the NFL that would need a running back, so whoever ends up the odd man out here is going to have a home. The Browns certainly got some work to do as far as, the finalizing of what's going to be that running back room. Me personally, I don't think there's going to be a fullback this year, which gives you the ability, flexibility to keep 4. You look at Jerome Ford's body type as opposed to Felton. Jerome Ford's probably somebody who can contribute a little bit more on specials than maybe Demetric Felton as far as covering kicks, covering punts. So the Browns running back room, Dearness Johnson. For me, the happiest thing and great talking about this is Dearness Johnson. I mean, great story, but now opportunity 2.45 million guaranteed for a year. Great story for a guy who's done nothing but put his nose to the ground and gotten his work in here. So we're going to move on here, though. We're going to talk a little bit about what could potentially be the backup quarterback position with Deshaun Watson's pending legal action. I mean, not legal action, pending action coming from the NFL. We'll get to all that and more here. Your latest Locked On Browns, Garrett Bush, Jeff Lloyd, along for your ride. At BlueNile.com, you can celebrate all life's special moments, from creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams to getting a classic and timeless jewelry piece, all at prices you won't find at traditional jewelers. Whether you're ready to pop the question or you are celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping. At BlueNile.com, build the engagement ring of her dreams or celebrate life's special moments with fine jewelry. No matter what you are looking for, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7. Mark your special moments with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off any purchase of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive is using the promo code Locked On. That's Locked On. Plus, every order is shipped free and arrives in a discreet package that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. You endure silly questions as the model of your car, EX, LX, engine type, V6 or a V6 turbo, and then you wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only supplier that their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to Rock Auto at home and in your pocket. So save time and money. Call Rock Auto. Do the research yourself. Put in what you have of your car. They will let you know what you can get part-wise. It's a family business. It's been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. The prices are reliably low, and they are for every customer. You pay what the parts store pays. So why even bother paying the markup? Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution for your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in there. How did you hear about us box? So they know that me and G. Bush sent you their way. Amazing selection, reliably low prices. All the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
Locked On Brown podcast. We back at it at GBush91 on Twitter. At Jeff_LJ_Lloyd on Twitter for Jeff, man. Thank you for making the Locked On Browns podcast your first stop of the day. Thank you for what you guys have been really supportive. Like Jeff says, we're climbing up there. The goal is to get that 1,000, man. Slowly but surely, we're doing it. Want to thank everybody who definitely watched our last video. Really good numbers and metrics on that. And as always, man, if you missed some of our other stuff, go back and take a look at some of our other videos on YouTube. Those are evergreens. Those are videos that don't, especially during the off season, they're not going to date. You could definitely get some of that good information on there, and make sure you go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Jeff, we talked about a little bit before we went to break. If you got Deshaun Watson, he's out here and he's possibly going to miss some games. We know that you have Jacoby Brissett behind him, right? Jacoby Brissett, to me, I've seen him play. I've seen him play a lot. I've seen him play in New England, seen him play in Indianapolis, seen him play in Miami. For the most part, he's a solid backup. I think he's an upgrade over Case Keenum. And I've been on record saying that, even if it's 4 games or 6 games, I still have high expectations for the Cleveland Browns because of all the other position groups that we've consistently talked about. From the running back room, we just talked about that depth. From the upgrades that we believe that we're going to have at wide receiver. And especially because your defense is back, Everybody is going to know what to do. I think the defense is going to start off ahead of the offense. So even if Jacoby Brissett comes out there and has to play, I think the Cleveland Browns have an opportunity to have a pretty good record. Maybe a 4-2. If it's 6 games, maybe a 3-1. If it's 4 games. Now you brought up something interesting. We know about Jacoby Brissett, but what about Dobbs? What kind of expectation level do we have for him? What kind of what kind of performance do you think he's going to give? And when you asked that question, I thought about it. I was like, man, I haven't seen him play that much since he was in doing some backup time with the Steelers. But he's not as good as a passer as Jacoby Brissett, but he uses his legs a whole lot better. In that case, I think you'd see a lot more designed quarterback runs. I think you would see some more scrambles. I think you would see him move the pocket. I think that Kevin Stefanski would adapt and use him in the best way possible, which is definitely using his athleticism to move the change. I think both of the offense won't be a big play offense. It'll be more of a move the chains. Let's keep the football. Let's let's nickel and dime them, and be consistent. Don't turn the football over. And we just looking to get out of here with a win. I think Josh Dobbs can do some of the same things as Jacoby Brissett, but Dobbs will do it in a way he would incorporate his legs a little more. What say you?
I think the thing you get into here is, this is contingent on, finding out what type of suspension Deshaun Watson gets. Look, if it's 4 games, you're fine. If it's 6 games, I think you're fine. Once you get to that number, maybe where it's 8, which you're talking half the season, if not more. Now you're in a spot where, okay, we think Jacoby Brissett as our number 2. Look, there has to be a scenario that this was played where, hey, if Jacoby Brissett has to be our quarterback for a significant amount of time, are we comfortable with it? Do we like the way this is structured around him? But given that, what would be the situation? God forbid something happens to Jacoby Brissett. Now, essentially, who is the quarterback? I mean, here you would be on your 3rd quarterback. Most of the time, any team you were on your 3rd quarterback, pretty much you are probably writing off your season. It's just kind of the way it goes, or you are tanking to get the number 1 overall pick to get your quarterback in the future. So with Josh Dobbs, there's not much playing time. There is not much of an NFL history at all of this, young man playing. What reps he did take for the Pittsburgh Steelers, not very promising. Certainly not going to say, all right, we're good. I mean, nobody's getting the warm and fuzzies saying, all right, Josh Dobbs is quarterbacking, the Cleveland Browns in 2022. The issue here is, Josh Dobbs obviously has been looked at the last couple of weeks. He's going to be looked at in the next couple of weeks here as far as, getting some reps. This is something you got to pay some mind to. There is there's an extreme possibility that Josh Dobbs or whoever the Cleveland Browns number 3 quarterback is could be taking meaningful reps. And I'm saying starting more than 1 game, starting several games. So, where do you go if you don't feel Josh Dobbs is that guy? Now you're going to comb around the NFL. Obviously, you're going to go to the veteran wire. You're going to see who's available there. You're going to start maybe poking some coals on some other teams of a quarterback who's not going to be in the plans. With Josh Dobbs, the mobility is there. He was part of Tennessee program as Tennessee was kind of going downward spiral, the program. But it's a tough spot to be in if you're the Cleveland Browns because, you don't normally say, oh, wow, who cares about the number 3 quarterback? But the Browns could easily be in a position, high ankle sprain, be that as it may, concussion, bruised shoulder, whatever, where all of a sudden, their number 3 quarterback could be a significant part of this 2022 team. And I don't know how much you're going to find out about Josh Dobbs in that time. This could be certainly something where you're going to go through a couple of preseason games and say, you know what, if it's a short stretch, we're comfortable with it. Or we're not comfortable with this at all, and we got to go find somebody else. Because again, it's a real possibility the Browns may have to use, 3 quarterbacks this year if you don't have their first. Not an enviable task for Cleveland to be in, but these are all things, that have to be thought about, and the scenario could possibly play out for a team who invested as much as they did into a quarterback, understanding there are some, basically, let's simply enough, eligibility concerns.
Definitely. Anytime you get down to the 3rd or 2nd or 3rd quarterback, most likely you're not going to be getting the type of production that you're going to get from your starter that you're looking for. So, when we look at Josh Dobbs and guys like that, when you lose a guy like Deshaun Watson, what happens is everybody else got to step up. So now Jacoby's your starter. Josh Dobbs, is one play away from being your starter too. So there's a lot of things that go into it. And one of the things that I think the Browns have to hang their hat up and rally around the fact is, we got other guys on the team. We got guys that have to step up, especially when you got your quarterback out. So Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, the Nick Chubbs, the Denzel Ward, the Joe Batonios and David Njoku. Hey, basically all the dudes that got money. If you got money in the last year, you might want to do something. Njoku, all the guys that got all these contracts, because the guys I'm naming got money. They all got a contract either this year or last year. So your job is to come in, be leaders, carry the team, and by any means necessary, get it done. And I think the Browns, if they want to be considered Super Bowl caliber, ball players, a Super Bowl caliber team, that's what Super Bowl caliber players do. They step up when they need to be stepped up, especially when you play the big money guys and the all pro guys. So, we'll see where it goes. Hopefully, the suspension is light, or even if he gets a suspension, and then if we do have to have Jacoby Brissett, hopefully he comes in and plays his best, and we don't have to see Josh Dobbs. But it's a reality, something we got to look at, and it's something that we got to examine to keep our eye on the rest of the summer.
Kind of weird the position where the Browns are in, as loaded as this roster is, and it could come down to, not Deshaun Watson. It could go down to not Jacoby Brissett, and basically what is behind door number 3 at the most critical position for the Cleveland Browns. Browns are going to do a little traveling next week as they start their first week of mandatory. Actually, I think it'll be the final week, mandatory camp, as the Browns do a little traveling around the state of Ohio. We're going to get to all that here in a second. Your host, Garrett Bush and Jeff Lloyd. Appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, news, and odds, including this year's NBA Finals, one apiece. The NHL Hockey Conference Finals. Congratulations, Colorado Avalanche, headed to the Cup. Major League Baseball, and of course, all the latest fighting news from MMA and UFC to boxing. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Locked On Browns podcast. We in the building once again. Thanks for all the support that we've been getting. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you continue to subscribe to the regular podcast anywhere and everywhere you get your podcast at. Jeff, let's get into this conversation about all around the world. Right, the Browns are like a rock band. They're traveling a little bit. When I was a player, this was fun but nerve-wracking. Right, if you were practicing at other facilities or had to practice at high schools, it was just nerve-wracking to me. And sometimes I didn't really appreciate it, but it does give you a little sense of things being fun, a little more outside of the normal what you do. But the Cleveland Browns are going to be in the next couple of weeks during training camp, OTAs, leading up to the training camp. They're going to be in a lot of different places, man. One of the places is my own stomping grounds of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They'll be there for a little bit, and there'll be other couple places. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think people, if it's open to the public, they'll have a nice, considerable walk-up crowd?
This is first and foremost. So next Tuesday, the Browns will be at the buildings in Berea. They'll get their workout in there. Next day, they're going to take it down over to Canton, obviously the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It is not going to be open to the public. The thing there is, though, that might not be the Cleveland Browns call. That could actually possibly be the Pro Football Hall of Fame's call. Who knows what else may be going on? Obviously, there's always events at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Could have been a situation where they made the concession for the Browns, but have something else going on and just have to control the amount of people there. Then the Thursday, the final one, they will take it to the stadium. There's been talk. Obviously, Cade York has been there. He's been working out at the stadium. You want to get your young rookie kicker as familiar as possible. Although I don't know what kicking in June in First Energy is going to do for Cade York when he's got to kick there in November. But hey, you might as well start to get a lay of the land, so to speak. But for a lot of these young Browns, it'll be the first trip to the building. There's always, and you know this, G, there's always a difference between practice within the stadium as opposed to the beat up, tired, sorry ass practice field. Regardless, empty stadium or not, it goes up a notch. It's just the way it is. You are literally within the building, and they always used to say, look, we ain't getting that sorry ass practice habits here. You know what I'm saying? You leave that over there, whether this is a game or not, we are here. We're on the A field. We're in the legit place today. And it always kind of get everybody to, basically take it up a little bit. Everyone gets, amped up a little bit more when you're actually in the building. For the rookies, it's basically a chance of, hey, guys, here we go. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like it's that intimidating. Kate, you're kicking in front of 100,000 people down in the SEC, but it is. It's a different environment. And look, again, First Energy, it's, compared to what the Browns' success has been recently, nobody's saying, oh my God, we're going to the golden cathedral that is First Energy Stadium. Hopefully they are all parts of people who are going to change that narrative about First Energy Stadium. But also to mix it up here, and, part of this, you go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame together, you have the D-backs looking at the wall of defensive backs, anything to get their juices flowing. Obviously, going down to Canton, a little bit of a team bonding. Everybody kind of spend a little more time together. But it's not so much going to South Beach. You're keeping it football centric. And you can have some certain guys looking at that wall and saying, "This was my guy, man. And when I was a kid, everything I watched was this guy. Oh, it was this guy." And it just gets the guys a chance to talk football, but also not necessarily so much about practice, not so much about the playbook, but it's the guys getting to just get their juices out, get their love out for the game. It's a smart way to end this up as you're going to wrap up the summer, and then everybody crosses their fingers for that 5-week period where they hope everybody's on their best behavior before it amps up for real in late July.
Yeah, I think it's twofold. You get the rookies in there to see what excellence looks like. It looks like you get the guys who are immortal, and then they get your veterans to think, there's a couple of guys on this team, Joe Batonio being one, Myles Garrett being a guy, guys that want to be in that pantheon, Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, guys that want to make the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And it shows you when you look at those individuals what it takes to get there, right? Anything you want to do in life, you need to visualize it. You need to visualize its success. You need to see it. You need to write it down. And I think that's just a part of getting your team to understand what it takes to win at the highest level. Most of those people there have won championships, have won Super Bowl rings, and that's what the Browns' goal is: excellence and Super Bowl rings. So that's a great opportunity for them to indoctrinate their team, young and old, into what they want to go to and look like. So I think that's the move for Stefanski. And then, get through the summer, get through the rest of the summer, the fingers crossed, no injuries, no people getting injured, working out on their own, no guys playing basketball, put the hoops away, and let's get ready to get down to this training camp, because we need everybody, all hands on deck, to start off the right way in 2022.
And part of it also here, I understand, look, for everybody, Ohio, schools are out. Everybody's in summer mode here. Here in Jersey, we're less than, we're about like 7-8 days away from school year ending here. But the NFL Hall of Fame game, 58 days away. The week one of the first NFL game regular season is going to be played in less than 100 days. And if you don't think how fast 3 months can slip by, just watch. And now you put that on accelerated time, like summer, when you always got the possibility of something to do. The weather's nice, barbecues, friends, all the gentlemen out there. It is sundress season. There ain't nothing better than sundress season, guys. So we get to this time of year, and everybody, I can't wait for summer, can't wait for summer. Next thing you know, and certainly for, football guys like us, this is what we do. We get here, I'm excited. You say 4th of July, next thing you know, you blink and it's training camps open. Battles, things to cover, like we talked about, this running back room. Obviously, what's going to go on at the quarterback room? Are we going to have a word by then? So we need to know what we've got in Jacoby Brissett. We need to know what we got behind Jacoby Brissett. The development of the young wide receivers. Hoping that one of these defensive tackles is going to take a step up here, as the Browns currently sit $40 million over the cap. Maybe we can find somebody to come in here who can help with stuff in the run here. So we don't have to count on all these young guys to make this jump. But, you try to keep everything, and this is what I do love about what, Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski do, is they try to keep things different. They try to keep things fresh. Garrett knows from his days at two-a-days. I know from my day at two-a-days. Is same mundane thing every single day. It gets to the point where you're just physically and mentally exhausted Physically, yes, but even mentally, it's here we go again. We're going to do the same nonsense we did this morning, and I'm already tired. I'm already beat up. It was 97 degrees this morning. Oh, great, we got a break. It's only 92 out now. Trying to go out there and function. But by mixing it up, keeping it fresh, keeping it different, it's a good chance you're going to get the guys more in tune, more in lockstep, and more excited to just go about it. Whole different world now as far as, practices and workouts are done in the NFL. Thanks to, of course, the NFL Players Association. And you want to keep your players fresh. You don't want nobody getting hurt. I love that you brought up Joel Bitonio and Myles Garrett. I mean, Joel Bitonio going there going, I think that's where we're going to put the me and Joe Thomas shrines. We're going to put him right over there. Guys, that could look good, right? Me and Joe over there to the left. You guys like that? Is that the spot? Yeah, guys, reserve this spot, man. Going to get Joe in here shortly enough. I'll let you know when I'm done playing. Just make sure there's enough room right there because, if we're going to go in, we might as well go right next to each other. But just a great way of doing it, a smart way of doing it. We got a lot going on here, this time of year. Working on some guests here. Obviously, we can fill some time here, get some thoughts from other people here as, day-to-day coverage from the Browns. It's going to dry up here as, the guys will go away for the final parts of the summer. But, just always trying to keep it fresh, always kind of, keep it exciting here. It's been a pleasure, to this point where Garrett, with Garrett joining here as co-host, just another, obviously a voice, to come in here, some different takes with Garrett. Make sure you're checking everything out from Garrett and the guys over at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Miss Aditi always up in the house. Plenty of former Browns and Tim Couch and obviously Leroy Horde. And of course, DeQuell Jackson. Great, guests day in, day out. Great topics. They always have a lot of fun with it. Make sure the Barbershop, 92.3 The Fan. You can catch Garrett every Saturday. And of course, summertime always holes to fill. So I'm sure you're going to see Garrett over there a bunch more as well. Make sure you're following at GBush91, at Locked On Browns, follow back account. DMs are open. Any questions, ideas, topics you would like covered on the show, go ahead, hit us up. Be free to throw it in the rotation here. Me personally, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen. Whatever podcast app you use, make sure you are following or subscribed to the Locked On Browns podcast. 5-star ratings, written reviews, all the rage kids. YouTube, clicking in on about 800 subscribers to this point. Let's keep that number going up. We're thrilled with the growth. I'm thrilled that a lot of you have decided to try it and go a different avenue with your coverage. I understand a lot of people don't like to change, but it looks like, what's going on over there, it's really working and it's really, really being appreciated, which means it's really being appreciated by us. With all of this, folks, this has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound for Mr. Garrett Bush, for myself, Mr. Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate y'all for being around. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go Browns.